Sorry guys, I'm just getting stuff started. We got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. Hopefully everybody's doing good this afternoon. So I got the chat up. Just waiting for the thing to be sent out to a bunch of people. I just got this message from Stellantis probably about a half hour ago. I was writing an article up for Mopar Insiders, but I decided, hey, let's get on here and talk about this because I had some people contact me already wanting to talk about this, and I'm really excited because we heard a few weeks, or actually a couple days ago. Matter of fact, let's bring that article up real quick. Hold on here. Let me bring this up because I talked a little bit about this. According to Bloomberg and Reuters, they had sources the other day, a couple days ago, and I wrote about it. There was supposedly about $10 billion that was going to be invested in the U.S. manufacturing for Stellantis. There was rumors going around about it. We talked about it a little bit here on the live stream, and what's really exciting is it's come true. They're not just doing $10 billion; they're doing $13 billion. So again, I have to go back a couple days to when exactly right here. We talked about it on October 7th, and again, they said 10 billion at the time. I talked to some people before today, and they had heard stuff, but nothing was concrete until this afternoon. So this afternoon, we learned some really important details about this investment. It's going to basically affect a majority of the plants in the Midwest. I think a lot of people are going to be very happy with what Stellantis is doing. Again, under Antonio Filosa's watch, they are really focusing on North America. Basically, they're trying to take advantage of the Trump administration's new Build in America, Made in the USA incentives and stuff like that. So we're seeing a bigger investment, the biggest investment in 100 years from the company. So if we go over to Stellantis' actual press release that they sent me, it says Stellantis to invest $13 billion to grow in the United States. Now, there's key investment actions, and we're learning about some new vehicles as well. So this is why I'm on the live stream talking about this, because I'm going to do little videos later tonight about each one of these moves. But I wanted to tell you guys and show you the breaking news right off the bat. Because again, if you're a Mopar diehard fan like I am, you're very excited about the new changes coming from Antonio Filosa's team. So the first thing is they're going to expand U.S. production by 50% with 5 new vehicle launches and 19 product actions over the next 4 years. Now that's massive. Again, expand by 50% in U.S. production. So again, that's massive alone. And with 5 all-new vehicle launches, they don't specifically say what they are, but I will tell you that again, there's a couple of them that we kind of know that are coming. But there's also 19 product actions over the next 4 years. So that alone should tell you something. Now, Belvidere, I've been saying it for a while. Belvidere would not be getting the midsize truck, even though we had, talked about it a lot. There was no, official announcement that Belvidere wouldn't be getting the truck. I had been saying that Toledo South would be getting the truck. That is true. Toledo has been confirmed that it will get the new midsize pickup. Now, Belvidere, basically they are recalling employees. Everything's kind of getting set up because they are going to be doing 2 new vehicles there, and they're both going to be Jeeps at launch at least. The interesting part is they're getting the Cherokee like we originally had said that we had heard. So they are going to get the all-new Cherokee KM. Again, the first KMs that are coming off the line right now in Toluca will still go, but the Trump administration giving that incentive for that Made in America incentive and having the Cherokee, as a North American only vehicle that's going to be basically sold just in the U.S. and Canada, it makes sense to build it here because then you can take advantage of the tax incentives. I'm not just talking about Stellantis' tax incentives, because you can basically write off a certain percentage of new vehicle interest according to the Trump administration. Dodge, if we go on to Dodge's website, let me bring up Dodge.com real quick. Because the Durango is built here in Detroit, Dodge has actually pushed. Now, keep in mind, Dodge never updates their website, which is ridiculous in today's world. But if we go over here, there should be a thing right here. It says $10,000 annual tax deduction on interest paid on new qualifying auto loans. So that's under the actual Trump administration, a new thing that you can actually make a tax deduction on your interest for your auto loans. So that's going to help push the Cherokee sales here even more. On top of that, the Cherokee itself, the hybrid system, the engine comes from Dundee, Michigan. The hybrid system and stuff, most of the parts are coming from Kokomo. So it makes sense to bring it here when you look at actual, logistics purposes, okay? On top of that, Belvidere will become what we call a flex plant. Flex plant means it will be able to build multiple different platforms. So not only will it be building Stella Large, but it will be building Stella medium vehicles. So this means that the new Jeep Compass J4U that we've been talking about will go to Belvidere. I have not heard anything about Brampton just yet. Again, Unifor hasn't said anything about Brampton. Stellantis hasn't said anything about Brampton. So I can honestly say we do not know what's going to happen to Brampton. We've been hearing rumors for a while that these flex plants would probably happen if the tariffs continue to go on. So what a flex plant does is, for example, Brampton or Windsor could build multiple platforms. We know that Windsor has the capability. They're already building the Chrysler Pacifica and the Dodge Charger. They're both different platforms. There's plants that can do this kind of ability. And what happens is maybe we'll see some production of other vehicles come to the U.S. eventually. We don't know just yet. These plans are brand new. Again, this was just posted this afternoon, and it seems like when I tell you guys something, a lot of times in the last few months, there's been so much changes going around, it's hard to follow. So again, we hear like 1 week, oh yeah, the truck's going to go to Toledo, then it's back at Belvidere, then it's back at Toledo. But this is what's happening, okay? So this was an official announcement, but the actual Jeep Compass and the Stella Media platform will be also produced in Illinois at the Belvidere assembly plant. So what does that mean in the future? That means that Belvidere could also produce vehicles like the new Chrysler vehicles. We know Chris Fuel, the Chrysler CEO, she said that they're going to build a compact Chrysler SUV eventually. Good, and you assume a compact SUV from Chrysler would be based on the same Compass platform, the Stella Medium platform, so that could be built there. But what Stellantis is telling us today is there are going to be 2 new Jeep vehicles, and then we know that they're going to be the Cherokee and the Compass. I've also said multiple times, too, in the recent weeks, my sources have been indicating that Jeep will move the Compass J4U from being a BEV launch to now going to launch with a hybrid powertrain. So this powertrain that we've heard about the Compass is the same exact powertrain that is in the new Cherokee. So that's a 350-volt hybrid powertrain with a 1.6-liter engine. It sounds like that's going to be one of the reasons why they're going to bring it to Illinois, because obviously if you have the Cherokee and you have the Compass using the same powertrain, it makes a lot more sense. Now let's talk about Warren Truck. A lot of people have had questions about Warren Truck over the last year, especially now that they're down to one shift. There's some very new, exciting news. And a lot of people have said, I've heard rumors that the heavy-duty trucks are coming to the line up there. That's not happening. It's not. Instead, the Warren Truck will actually get some new product. And they're not confirming what it is just yet. They're telling us kind of what it is, but they're not telling us what it is, if that makes sense. So if we go down here, I'm just going to read you some of this stuff so you guys can kind of hear it right from Stellantis' mouth. So this is going to be the largest single investment in the company's 100-year history, which benefits all U.S. assembly plants. Belvidere, Illinois plant to reopen for production with 2 new Jeep vehicles. An all-new midsize truck will be assembled in Toledo, Ohio. Warren, Michigan plant to produce an all-new range-extending EV and internal combustion large SUV. The next generation Dodge Durango, which we heard the Durango was being basically, the current generation Durango was going to be held on until 2029. We're getting new words about the next generation Durango. Now, according to a couple people I know who actually seen the actual next generation Durango in the design studio, and again, it's not in finished form, said it is absolutely gorgeous. They said it's awesome. They actually like it better than the new Dodge Charger. And when they heard that the WD, the current generation Durango, was sticking around, they were very disappointed that they wouldn't probably get to see the vehicle. It sounds like this is going to be continuing on, and that's going to be built at the Jefferson North plant in Detroit. So, also, I don't want to give too much away, but the new GME-T4 EVO engines that we've been talking about, I actually got to see one of these engines this past week. I can't tell you anything about it. I'm very impressed, let's put it that way, but I can't tell you any stats or anything about it. I think a lot of people are going to be shocked about this thing. I'm really impressed by it. There's going to be a lot of content with it here on the channel in the future, so stay tuned for that. But I'm very excited about it. So again, if I'm excited, I'm a diehard Mopar guy, through and through. I think you guys will be too. But anyways, so Stellantis announced today plans to invest $13 billion over the next 4 years to grow its business in the critical United States market and to increase its domestic manufacturing footprint. The investment is the largest in the company's 100-year U.S. history and will support the introduction of 5 new vehicles across the brand portfolio in key segments, production of an all-new 4-cylinder engine, and the addition of more than 5,000 jobs at plants in Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. The new investment will further expand Stellantis' already significant U.S. footprint, increasing annual finished vehicle production by 50% over current levels. The new product launches will be in addition to the regular cadence of 19 refreshed products across all U.S. assembly plants and updated powertrains planned through 2029. So again, what they're announcing today is even more products. These aren't products that are currently in the plans. These are all new products going forward. So what Antonio Filosa had to say was this. He said that this investment in the U.S. is the single largest in the company's history. We drive our growth, straighten our manufacturing footprint, and bring more American jobs to the states we call home. And then he said, as we begin our next 100 years, we are putting the customer at the center of our strategy, expanding our vehicle offerings and giving them the freedom to choose the products they want and love. So if you watched my videos earlier today, it was kind of funny because when I was at the Chrysler Tech Center this past week, basically for the Grand Wagoneer launch, and we couldn't have cameras or anything. There was very few media that was allowed cameras. They had to have special permission, and I actually took my camera and I had it confiscated. But the funny thing is I do have like audio recordings of it all. They allowed us to audio record. But what Bob Bordorf basically said was that Antonio Filosa is hardcore into getting things right. It does not matter if they prolong launches as long as quality is up. Now, this is a totally different Stellantis from what we've seen just 10 months ago when they had to launch the Dodge Charger Daytona, the Wagoneer S, in order to get funds from the government, and they were just totally botched at launches. Now we're seeing a completely different management team come in. I wouldn't say completely different, but people that are being held accountable, people that are trusted. And Antonio Filosa is no doubt kind of going back to the Sergio Marchionne kind of method with FCA. We see a lot more FCA management, like former people from FCA in the management team for Stellantis now than we ever have. Antonio is making sure that North America is the priority. Not only is it because it's the biggest market for Stellantis, but it's his baby. He is still, to this day, even though he's the CEO, he's still the COO for North America. So he is in charge of this region, and he wants to make sure that this is the best region and most profitable region for the company. So what also he had to say was, accelerating growth in the U.S. has been a top priority since my first day. Success in America is not just good for Stellantis in the U.S., it makes us stronger everywhere. So again, totally different philosophy than Carlos Tavares, which is kind of funny because when I went to the CTC, they said they don't even talk about him anymore. It's like a word that an unspoken word. They don't even mention his name there because he was such a cancer to the company. But anyways, so that's the details right there from Antonio. He's laser focused on the U.S. like the actual U.S. manufacturing footprint. He wants to build vehicles here. He wants to expand your offerings here, and it's not like a global focus where we're going to build one vehicle and kind of share it throughout the markets. North America is going to have specific vehicles, and we're going to get more specific vehicles too, and you're going to learn about those. So let's talk about the investments real quick. I know a lot of you guys, and then I'll talk some questions and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind the vehicles that that we are going to be talking about in this are expanded vehicles from the current lineup. Okay, so the $13 billion investment includes research and development and supplier costs to execute the company's full product strategy over the next 4 years. So again, we heard $10 billion, but it sounds like an extra $3 billion is being used for research and development as well as supplier costs. Okay. So that $10 billion investment isn't far off from what the actual truth is. It's just we're hearing that there's $3 billion additional probably for research and development and supplier cost. Now, that's over the next 4 years in investments in manufacturing operations. The details of the plant-specific investments follow. Okay, so Illinois, the Belvidere assembly plant. Stellantis intends to invest more than $600 million to reopen the Belvidere assembly plant to expand production of the Jeep Cherokee and Jeep Compass for the U.S. market. Now, again, I've talked about this a little bit in the live streams. I've heard rumors that they were going to do flex plants. And when I talked about that a few minutes ago, flex plants are plants that can build multiple vehicles on multiple platforms and be able to produce stuff specifically for that market. So we might see Brampton do the same thing, where Brampton just builds cars for Canada. That would be pretty interesting because Belvidere could build the same exact cars, but they would build like the Cherokee and the Compass, where Brampton could do the same thing, and that they could sell that just for the Canadian, like actual Canadian region. So if you think about it, Canada doesn't sell a whole lot of cars. So if they could make Brampton into a flex plant, they could build tons of vehicles there. It would actually be really beneficial for the company. They could run one plant and they could build like multiple vehicles there just for the region. So that's what it's starting to sound like. I had heard rumors of it before. I talked about it in the live stream, but it sounds like this is kind of trickling into that. They haven't said it officially yet, but if you read what this says, it says to expand production of the Jeep Cherokee and Jeep Compass for the U.S. market. For the U.S. market. It says nothing about Canada. So, again, it's not official, but if you read into it, that's what I'm kind of figuring out in my head. Now, it says with an initial production launch expected in 2027. Okay? So, we will not see the Cherokee move to the U.S. this year or next. We will probably see it sometime in the first quarter of 2027 or maybe even late 2026, depending on how fast things go. But the 2026 Jeep Cherokee will be manufactured in Toluca, Mexico, no matter what, okay? Now, it says these actions are anticipated to create around 3,300 new jobs. So that's exciting. And when it says new jobs, a lot of those are returning jobs, people that have been laid off. And there's also been a call to action where those people who were originally at Belvidere that went to other plants, they have put in requests to come home, and they're starting to accept those requests. So again, very exciting news for those that live in Belvidere. Belvidere is kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but they're close to Rockford, Illinois. So Rockford's kind of a big town, but Belvidere is a smaller town. A lot of people that actually lived there and the town worked at the plant. So the plant was very much a key part of that town. And it's good to see that, they are going to have a future there. And again, that plant was nonstop in production since 1965 up until 2023. So it's kind of nice that they went out with the Cherokee, and now they're getting the next generation Cherokee. And the best exciting thing for Belvidere, and I'll say it again, if they would have had the midsize truck, it would have been the stupidest decision from Stellantis. We know the midsize truck, because of what my sources have been telling me, is that truck will not be a unibody truck. It will be a body-on-frame truck like the Ranger, like the Colorado and Canyon and Tacoma and that. So that would have meant that Belvidere would have become a body-on-frame plant. Ultimately, let's say the vehicle was a success and they build, let's say 50,000 units, which is like crazy, right? 50,000 units. They were building more Cherokees with one single vehicle with a unibody than that. That would have done nothing for the plant. They would have been running probably 1 or 2 shifts max. If you want to maximize your plant capacity, don't change a unibody plant into a body-on-frame plant when you have, like Warren Truck, when it's basically running 1 shift with 1 vehicle. So to me, that would have been the stupidest move. It makes sense because what I've been hearing for a long time was that the truck was going to go to Toledo South. It's going to share a lot of components with the Gladiator. It's not going to be the exact same thing. It's going to be sharing components. So it makes sense because their supplier park there builds components for the Gladiator. But also, we heard, because of how well the Gladiator sales haven't been really stellar, the thing is they have additional capacity there. So they could run the pickup there and it wouldn't affect anything. So it also kind of cements Toledo with their jobs. And you're going to learn more about that in the next paragraph here. It says, with an investment of nearly $400 million, assembly of the all-new mid-size truck previously allocated to Belvidere plant plans to move to the Toledo assembly complex, where it will join the Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator. Production shift could create more than 900 jobs. Launch timing is expected in 2028. So again, it makes sense. If they're going to share, let's say, powertrains and stuff like that, it makes total sense for that midsize truck to go there. No doubt in my mind. It also cements, the work for Toledo, both the South plant and the North plant and the supplier park. So it just makes sense. It says the company will also intends to continue with investments in Toledo operations as previously announced in January. This includes additional technologies and strong product actions for both the Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator, and more components critical to production at the Toledo machining plant. So again, not only is this move benefiting Belvidere, it's benefiting Toledo as well. So just because Belvidere is not going to build that truck, it actually is like the best thing for them, because now they can build multiple vehicles. They wouldn't be limited to just one product. Toledo can continue on and build multiple vehicles because they are a body-on-frame plant. And now Belvidere can build both Stella medium and Stella large vehicles. So again, we know that there's like a future Chrysler crossover coming. There's also a D segment Chrysler crossover. It depends on what Windsor's going to be able to do. We've already know that Chrysler's going to build another sedan. So if you're going to build the Pacifica, the Charger, both the gas and the electric version, and then you're going to build something else, wouldn't it make sense to put a Chrysler sedan at Windsor rather than, because that would share components really with the Dodge Charger, Daytona and Charger 6-pack, rather than, maybe that Chrysler crossover vehicle. So that could go to Belvidere as well. So Belvidere has the potential of reaching multiple more vehicles. So again, it makes sense. When you actually sit here and think about common sense, that move totally makes sense. Now let's get into Warren Truck, because this is where it's going to get interesting, okay? Stellantis plans to develop, now listen to this. Now we talked about the Grand Wagoneer today, the 2026 Grand Wagoneer, and we talked about the Grand Wagoneer Reeve, which is the range extending electric vehicle. But listen to this. Stellantis plans to develop an all-new electric extended EV and internal combustion engine large SUV that will be produced at the Warren Truck Assembly Plant beginning in 2028. So what they're confirming is there will be a brand new full-size SUV, or a large SUV. They're not saying full-size, they're saying large SUV, with a range-extending EV and internal combustion engine at the Warren Truck Assembly Plant beginning in 2028. And that has nothing to do with the new Grand Cherokee or Grand Wagoneer. Again, this is a totally different vehicle. Could we be getting a Dodge vehicle? An updated Dodge like SUV? To me, that would make sense. Dodge needs ultimately a new SUV. There's room for the Durango and there's room for something else. If you look at, like, they're now marketing the Wagoneer as a law enforcement vehicle. Well, Dodge does law enforcement stuff. Law enforcement needs bigger vehicles. The Durango's a very popular law enforcement vehicle. We're supposed to get a Charger Pursuit. We haven't heard anything about that anytime recently. But it would be kind of cool if they could build a Dodge full-size SUV to go against the Tahoe and the new Expedition law enforcement vehicle sales. On top of that, who knows? Maybe we'll get a new Chrysler SUV. But I will say that Chris Fuel has not said anything about a full-size SUV in any of the talks that I've listened to her, in person talk or read about. So again, I don't think it will be a Chrysler. I think this will be a Dodge vehicle. I doubt Ram would go into building a full-size SUV there because Ram is more focused on trucks and the commercial market. So to me, it sounds like Dodge will probably more than likely be building a full-size SUV with a range-extending EV powertrain, which if it's the same powertrain that the Ram Charger and the Grand Wagoneer have, it will be pretty phenomenal. So if you haven't seen my video today on the Grand Wagoneer Reeve, go and watch it. It's again, I couldn't have a camera there, but I show a lot of past footage of the platform and stuff. There's a lot of new details in that vehicle. I think a lot of people will be impressed by that vehicle when it launches. Now, that's not all, because we're going to also talk about another Michigan plant. The company is also expected to invest $130 million to prepare the Detroit Assembly Complex, Jefferson. So again, Jefferson North, for production of the next generation Dodge Durango. And it's reaffirming its commitment from January. Production is anticipated to launch in 2029. So that right there tells us that what we heard from our supplier sources, that the WD will stay in production until 2029, is confirmed. So the current generation Dodge Durango will be built until 2029 when it's replaced by the next generation Dodge Durango at the Jefferson North Assembly Plant. Good news for them. I know a lot of them have been worried because the Grand Cherokee export sales for Europe have basically been canceled. Jeep Europe is going to use the Wagoneer S instead of the Grand Cherokee, but this is kind of recommitting Dodge Durango to that plant. So again, that's going to be very exciting for the Jefferson North Assembly people. So I'm very happy about that. Durango's a great vehicle. I like I said before, a couple of people that I've talked to that have seen what the Dodge Design Studio has been doing with this new upcoming replacement are very excited about it. Will it be enough to, hold out to 2029? Hopefully. But that's still a long way off. I mean, we're just getting into 2026. We still got 3 more model years. So we will see. But again, that's basically they're reaffirming that the Durango will stay in Detroit at Jefferson North, especially through the next generation. Now let's talk about Indiana, okay? So we know that the new GME-T4 EVO is going to be produced at the Dundee engine plant. But what they said today was the company confirms its January announcement to make additional investments in several Kokomo facilities to produce all new 4-cylinder engines. That basically those are the GME-T4 EVO beginning in 2026. The company plans to invest more than $100 million and to add more than 100 jobs to ensure that the U.S. will be manufacturing it. I can't talk. That the U.S. will be the manufacturing home for the strategic powertrain. Okay. Stellantis' U.S. footprint includes 34 manufacturing facilities, parts distribution centers, and research and development locations across 14 states. These operations support more than 48,000 employees, 2,600 dealers, and nearly 2,300 suppliers in thousands of communities across the country. Today's announcement builds on the previous announced actions in January of 2025. So they're not getting rid of any of the changes that they did for 2025. Instead, this is an addition to it. So again, very exciting news. This is by far the biggest news that we've seen since 2018 when they basically announced that, the the additions onto Warren truck. They announced that the Gladiator would be going to Toledo. I mean, that was a big announcement back in 2018, and this one's even bigger. So $13 billion, massive investment in 4 states, and it should be very exciting for those who work at Stellantis in these plants, because it's basically confirming, production will stay and production is growing. So, all right, let's see what's going on here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you guys from the chat. Hey Matt, how's it going? Just got the message. Yeah, I heard that too. Filosa will be there at 6:30. I heard that. One of my buddies told me that he was rumored to be there. Yeah, the midsize truck to Toledo. That's really good for you guys down there. I mean, we know Gladiator sales have been kind of, dismal. I know Bob Bordendorf, the Jeep CEO, he's been very aggressive in his price structure. If you look at where the Gladiator is now, the Gladiator actually is about $5,000 cheaper than where it was a year and a half ago. Bob has basically committed to the Wrangler and Gladiator that they're going to become more accessible to people that don't want to spend the big bucks. He said that there's no reason why some of the options that are exclusive to Rubicon, exclusive to Mojave, can't be obtained in the Sport or even lower levels. So he's going to basically open up some interesting ordering options going into 2026. There's going to be more like high impact colors, more special edition colors. On top of that, again, with the pricing structure being changed, Jeep Wrangler for 2026 is going to get a very aggressive pricing structure where it's going to be lowered. So again, Bob's really focused on not only gaining market share, especially against Bronco and other mid-sized trucks, but hopefully that will continue to show that Jeep is actually selling more vehicles. On top of that, it should be a good push for more production at Toledo, and including the new mid-size truck from Ram. Hopefully more investment from Stellantis here in Canada. Yeah, I hope so too, man. We're just well, let's put it this way. Brampton didn't get screwed out just yet. Like I said, there's a possibility that Brampton could become a flex plant. I've been hearing rumors for a while. They could be just producing vehicles for the Canadian market. So keep your fingers crossed. We'll see. Hopefully we'll see something like that, for Brampton. Again, I haven't heard anything in the last month and a half from Brampton, other than that they had the whole family and basically rally at Brampton on the 4th. And again, they were hoping for Stellantis to come out and say, like, hey, there's going to be new product, or there was going to be they were going to basically restart the retool. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. We haven't heard any details yet. But the good news is usually when they announce something big for like the US, we'll probably see something for Canada maybe within a month. So keep your fingers crossed. I wouldn't count Canada or Brampton out just yet. Chrysler Airflow possibly. Yeah, the Jeep Recon is also coming. Jeep Recon will be launched in November. That will be coming from Toluca. That is not going to go anywhere but Toluca as far as I know. So for those who are wondering about the Recon, it should start reaching dealers here late in the fourth quarter. I know there's a lot of people, even though the whole EV push away from from all these from EVs and stuff, there's a lot of people that are actually pretty excited about the actual Recon coming to market. Hold on here. My chat just decided to freeze up. Probably because I got too many freaking windows open. That's what happens when you're writing and you're going back and forth between emails and stuff. Hold on here. Let me take and refresh this chat because I want to see what you guys are saying. If it will load, come on. Oh, let's see here. Change Wi-Fi and see if it helps. But anyways, yeah, I'm really excited about these changes. I mean, yeah, it's good for the U.S. and that. And I know, I have a lot of friends that are over in Windsor, a couple that are in Brampton, and I really hope that they get things fixed over there. Oh, come on. Let me see if I can go. For some reason, my laptop is hooked up to the wireless in the house and it's not working. Won't let me connect to my iPhone because I'm using that for the computer. Let me see. Come on. Oh, let's see here. Maybe we'll just do this. Hold on here. Let me bring. I'm gonna take and bring myself up onto the screen, and then I'm gonna take and let me pull up the chat real quick on here. See if I can pull it up. See if I can pull it up because it's not pulling up on my computer for some reason. I don't know why it's not doing it, but we'll see. Probably have to watch a commercial or something. Of course we do. Gotta watch a commercial for my own video. Let me see here, guys. I'm sorry. Lamont was the last one I read. Hopefully they get their electrical problems sorted out by the time that new engine launches. It deserves it. Yeah, I can't wait to show you some information about that engine. I think you guys are going to be really impressed with it. Quality needs to be job one, to quote Ford's old marketing campaign from the early 90s. Yeah, no kidding. And I think Antonio's really focused on the whole job one kind of thing. Like I said, Bob Bordorf, he basically said that Antonio is a stickler. Like, basically he said that he is, quote, hardcore for quality. Is the C6X going to Belvidere? They haven't confirmed anything yet. They have not confirmed anything yet. A Chrysler that competes with the RX and MDX. That would be the new upcoming C6X crossover. Let's see here. My issue with Stellantis makes mistakes like the plug-in Wagoneer Reeve truck has too big of a battery. Nah, I don't think it is. If you actually go and watch my video about the new Wagoneer range extending electric vehicle, the battery is only a 92 kilowatt hour battery. The vehicle gets 500 miles of range, but basically you never have to charge it. You never have to charge it at all. Mickey Bly basically told me right to my face that if you never wanted to charge that vehicle and you just wanted to fill it up with gas, you can do that. That's the funny part about it. You basically get all the benefits of an EV, so you get like the additional towing capability and power, but you don't have to even charge the stupid thing if you don't want to. It could cost more than a diesel option. I don't know. Bob basically said that they're going to be very aggressive on the pricing of the new range extending electric Grand Wagoneer. This is the Ford leaks. Forgot one cheap van based on the Maverick truck to replace the Escape. Yeah, no problem, Brian. So, anyways, nothing about Pentastar. Nope, nothing was mentioned about the 3.6 at all. So, yeah, Brampton's going to be reopening. And again, it's not going to be for a while, but the employees are being called back to get the plant back in order. The V6 is going to be on the Reeve models. Yes, it is. If you go back and watch my whole video about the range extending electric vehicle, if you go back and watch it from today, basically what they said was that the Pentastar, originally I had heard that it was like going to be a bunch of different parts that were going to be like, changed out with the Pentastar. It's basically the same Pentastar V6 that you get in the normal one. Like it's not the Pug, it's just the plain Pentastar V6. The only difference really is it uses basically an Atchison combustion cycle, so it's more efficient. It doesn't need to make more power, obviously, because it's not powering really anything but a generator. It's just more efficient. The one really cool thing about that vehicle, and even the Ram 1500 Rev, is that how quiet the actual Pentastar engine is. So, like, for example, I seen one at a grocery store, and it was running, I did a whole article about it. It was running outside, basically just running and charging itself. The guy had the door locked, went up to it, the lights were on, it was quiet. The Pentastar is ultra quiet, and especially considering it doesn't have to really do any, like, it doesn't run any, like, there's no, like, belts or anything driven from the front of it or anything. It's just a generator. So again, you basically have an EV. You're just on board. You have a gas power plant that's just going into an inverter that's converting mechanical energy into electricity. So again, it makes sense. 500 miles range. And if you watch my video, I talk about why the Grand Wagoneer actually has a different range the than the Ram 1500 Rev. The reason behind that is if you look at how the Grand Wagoneer is laid out. Okay, so that's a SUV. It has a third row, and because it has a rear HVAC system for the third row, they had to package the actual powertrain differently. Everything's pretty much the same. The reason how they got away with that was the fuel tank is smaller. So instead of having a 27-gallon fuel tank like the Ram 1500 Rev does, the Grand Wagoneer one will have a 20-gallon tank. So that tells you right there, that's the difference between the 190 miles of range difference is 7 gallons of fuel. So yeah, it won't be able to go as far, but still 500 miles, and basically you never have to charge it up, and you're getting all the benefits of an EV. You're getting 8 lug axles. This thing will be able to tow about 14,000 pounds. They haven't basically they haven't announced the towing capability of it yet, but if you look at the Ram Charger or Rev, that vehicle has 14,000 pounds of towing capability. So I mean that's pretty freaking amazing. So this thing's gonna be kind of heavy duty. Hopefully it's got enough braking power if you're towing a big trailer and stuff to stop it. But performance wise, with the EV, you get 647 horsepower, 620 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds flat. So, I mean, I think a lot of people will be impressed. And again, Bob basically said like the pricing will be very aggressive. He said compared to a plug-in, he said that the range-extending electric vehicle option will probably do more damage than what a Grand Wagoneer plug-in would do. So that tells me right there, if you're looking at plug-in hybrids, that this range extender might be around the same price what a plug-in would probably be, realistically. So again, you have less components really, other than the Pentastar. Again, there's no transmission. The transmissions are in the EDMs. They're a single unit. It's the battery pack is 92 kilowatt hours. If you look at the battery pack, like my battery pack in my Dodge Charger Daytona is 100 kilowatt hour. Okay, so you're still going to get about 150 miles of range, according to what they said. About 150 miles range is what they're aiming for in all electric power with that thing. So again, there's a lot of benefits to it. I think it's a better, after listening to what they said and listening to the numbers, I actually think that the range extending electric vehicle is a better option, in my opinion, than a plug-in. Plug-ins, you plug them in at the house, you maybe get 20, 30 miles of range. And then you're just using a gas engine after that. You're not regenning anything. You're not putting anything back into the vehicle. Charging times are super slow. This thing's going to have a full 400 volt architecture and 800 volt architecture, and it should charge pretty quick. Again, you're getting the benefits of both an EV. You're getting the quietness of an EV. Even with the Pentastar on, again, it wasn't that loud because it's not driving anything. It's just it doesn't have to run high RPMs. Actually, your intervals between oil changes and stuff. When I talked to an engineer, he said because it doesn't run high RPMs, it won't need oil changes like a normal like Pentastar V6 would. Like the intervals can be longer. It's a totally different thing. And I think if they can keep the price very aggressive, and the other interesting thing is, too, on top of it, they're not going to just have it for the Grand Wagoneer. They're going to have it for the L, too, so the longer wheelbase. And they're going to have multiple trims. They didn't tell us what trims they're going to do just yet. They're not really ready to announce that because they're still even trying to figure out the name for the thing. But I did get to see it in person. It looks just like a Grand Wagoneer. There's really no difference other than the charge port door on the fender. And the 8 lug axles, but inside looks identical. Actually, the one that they showed us was in this new color called Ghost. It was like a white color, had the dark ruby red interior in it, and that new red interior is just killer. It's like so perfect for that vehicle. Yeah, I mean, again, that one was shown to us in Summit Reserve, so the top of the line model. But they said multiple powertrain or multiple trims, and so who knows? Maybe we'll get just a base Grand Wagoneer with the Reeve system, because obviously Ram is going to do it with the Ram 1500 Rev Tradesman. So if you look at the Ram lineup, they're actually going with multiple powertrain or multiple. I keep saying powertrains, multiple trims. They're going to go with a Tradesman, a Bighorn, a Laramie, a Limited, and a Tungsten. So there's going to be 5 models. There's no Rebel, and there's no Longhorn. However, they were talking about making the possibility of an off-road version of it eventually. So again, hopefully we might see even an upland version of this, Grand Wagoneer range extender. So we'll see. Let me see if I can get back on the thing here. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone real quick. I hate not being able to see what you guys are messaging. For some reason, my thing's just being stupid. I don't know why. So let me see here. Record-setting investments will be paramount for ensuring a prosperous future for the U.S. brands. Exactly. You like the performance of your Charger Daytona? Yes, I do, but are turned off by the charging issues. Would a range extender for that model change your outlook? Honestly, it's not a charging issue with my Charger Daytona. I love the car. The car drives awesome. I think it's by far the best driving L Series car I've ever driven. I've driven Hellcats. I've driven Red Eyes. I've never driven a Demon 170. I have driven the 2018 Demon. But I've driven pretty much everything. Basically, as for suspension wise and overall chassis feel, the new cars are night and day difference compared to the old L Series cars. As for charging capabilities, I love the powertrain in it. Like, it's fast enough. Like, 670 horsepower is no slouch. It gets up and goes. I've drag raced people before with it on the street, and it's pretty quick. My buddy was with me, and he was actually driving, and he drag raced. What the hell is that Mercedes? It's like a $130,000 Mercedes AMG. It's like a really sleek looking coupe. Some guy pulled up on Woodward during the Dream Cruise week, and my buddy went and raced him and basically beat him by a half a fender, which was kind of funny considering how heavy the Charger is. But it's not the fastest EV on the planet, obviously, but it's fast enough. Like, it's faster than 99% of the cars that are out there. But when it comes to charging, it's not the car. The car is charged perfectly every single time. It's the actual infrastructure that sucks. So again, living here in Detroit, we're limited to the actual electrical infrastructure, because if you look at a map, if we go to PlugShare and look at the map, PlugShare shows us there are tons of chargers around here. But if you actually do fast charging, because you don't want to do like a 6.7 kilowatt charger, because I have a 100 kilowatt battery. That will take freaking forever. If I want to go to like a 160 kilowatt charger, or even anything over 125, which is considered a fast charger, it's hard to find ones that aren't either broken, or now that, because like GM boosted incentives on their EVs, a ton of people here in Detroit now have EVs. So now the problem is you're running into waiting for people to charge their vehicle because you have to. And then on top of that, you basically have to wait for yours to charge. Now, my Charger, I will say, the charging speed on the Charger Daytona is pretty quick. Being a 400-volt car, basically from 20 to 80% is like 24 minutes. It's not that bad. The problem is anything over 80 takes forever. 80 to 100 takes almost an hour. So that is ridiculous. If it had a range extending, like, let's say it had like a little 3-cylinder engine with an inverter setup, if it could have a smaller battery pack, which ultimately the battery is the most expensive thing in the car, not the EDMs, the actual battery. If it could have a smaller battery pack and have a little like 3-cylinder or 4-cylinder engine to generate power, enough power to keep the battery going, to me that would be like the ultimate setup. I would love that. Absolutely love it. Put it this way, the Charger Daytona, the frunk on it is useless. It's a nice feature to have. That's one of the things you get with the Plus cars. But for those who don't have a Plus car, you're not missing out on anything. I have a couple of basically in mine I keep my car cleaning like stuff, like a couple of microfiber rags, some quick shine, like quick wax, speed wax for car shows and stuff. But other than that, you can't put a helmet, you can't put really many groceries in it. The one cool thing I did see on the Charger forums is somebody did take and put ice in it, and they had like a mini bar in their frunk. But realistically, it's not usable for 90% of things. If they could find a way to package a small engine in that car, that would be awesome. The problem is, if you look at how it's laid out, I don't think they could, because the inverter for the electric drive module on the front actually sticks up above the drive module, and then when you open the frunk, it's basically very visible. So they would have to come up with some kind of very small, compact engine, maybe like probably like a 1 liter or something like that, to actually be able to power an inverter. The packaging would be very tough, because given that you have that, what's it called, the R-wing, because it slopes down so quick, you would probably have to get rid of that and give yourself more engine bay room to be able to do something like that. But realistically, if they could package something like that, it would be a game changer. I think a lot of people wouldn't complain about the Charger Daytona. Again, the biggest complaint I've had with the Charger Daytona, like many other people, is the software. They're fixing that. Right now, I only have one issue. The car drives great. I drove it this morning to take my son to school. I love driving that car. Like this past weekend, I took it out for a while and actually drove it with me and the wife went for like a 120-mile like trip. And the problem with that car right now is, again, having to deal with EV infrastructure. Another problem with that people don't understand about EVs, like Michigan, the state of Michigan, they don't like the fact that you're not paying them for a gas tax. Even though we do pay like taxes on our power here at the house, they still want to penalize you somehow. So like my registration went up from being like $130 a year on my 2023 Chrysler 300C to now almost $300 for having a EV. On top of that, you do save money because you don't have to pay for oil changes and stuff like that. But it's just like you're constantly like hit for stupid stuff with EVs. Like you're constantly being penalized. The car costs more. That's a downfall compared to a gas powered car. On top of that, registration's more. Your insurance is freaking way more. I pay like almost $25 more a month to have an EV, which is stupid. My insurance company, which is Allstate, basically asked me if I charged the car at home. I said no, I don't have a charger yet. I asked them why. They said if I charged it in my garage, which my garage is separate from my house, they basically told me that my insurance would go up because it's a fire risk. So again, there are so many disadvantages of EVs that kind of turn me off of them. Again, I have a order in for one of these Ram 1500 revs. I was one of the first ones to put it in for the electric truck because I figured, hey, I'll get it, I'll do some articles on it, and I'll basically sell it. But obviously that was 3 years ago now, almost 3 years ago. So I think they announced it in February of 2023, and that's when I sent my deposit in. So would I get the Ram Charger or the Rev or even the Grand Wagoneer? Yeah, well, the pricing for everything is kind of expensive now. Honestly, I really like the powertrain. I think it's actually great, and I love driving EVs. EVs are awesome because they have instant torque and all that. The problem is like if you're a car guy like I am, like I like to go out and like tinker with stuff. Like, hey, I just added a cold air intake on my car, or hey, I put an oil catch can in, and you want to show your stuff off or you make it sound different. You can't do any of that with an EV. If you're a car guy who likes to tinker, you will not like EVs. So again, I'm kind of up in the air. I do love my Charger Daytona, but I'm not in love with it, mainly because of I just feel like it doesn't have a soul for me being a car guy. But I don't like the infrastructure, and I don't like how you're constantly penalized having EVs. So I don't mean to rant, but that's the honest to God's truth. If it had a range extender, I would probably absolutely love it again. Let's see here. Let me see. Are you guys, is your connection kind of slow? Maybe. Let's see here. I don't know why my connection's so slow. I got a 5G network on my phone. Everything seems to be going good. So hopefully you guys can see and hear me all right. It's immature technology, and I'm sure there were, yeah, I'm sure cars were a handful when first invented. Yeah, and there's no doubt in my mind that EVs can get better. I don't think it's something we should abandon. Um, like there's a market for them. Almost 20% of the market wants EVs. Would I go back to an EV right now? No. Would I go to an EV that has 500 miles of range and is cheaper? Absolutely. Um, it's just it's a different kind of thing. I think as technology advances, I think the next generation of EVs, meaning within the next 10 years, I think as the infrastructure changes and if we continue to invest in EV infrastructure, I think it will be beneficial to some people. But there's no doubt in my mind that battery technology, especially with semi-solid state batteries like the Dodge Charger Daytona will eventually get, will change everything. Okay, smaller battery packs that can do more range, produce more energy, or actually have a discharge rate of more energy for more horsepower. There's no doubt in my mind that there's a benefit of EVs in certain markets. For those who simply don't like EVs, that like to tinker, you're never going to convert them. You're never going to convert them. Um, there's certain things I love about like I said, I love my Charger Daytona. Like driving it this past weekend really makes me like, I had to laugh when I first got the car. My wife was like, "Oh, if you really like this car, when you get done with the lease, you could buy it." And I'm like, "There's no way in hell I'm buying this car because the residual value will be so crappy. Like, I'm not gonna buy it that way." But after taking drives, taking drives out in the country and down hilly roads and having fun with the regen and how good that car drives, makes me second guess myself, thinking maybe I would buy that car if the value was good. Like if it had a residual value of like 24 to 28,000 bucks, hell yeah, I'd definitely get that car. I would keep it as a third car. I absolutely love the car. Like I love the powertrain and stuff in it. It's just it's fast enough. It's not the fastest thing, but it's fast enough. Um, the regen on that car is actually really really good. I shot a video with the guys over at Chase Classic Motors a couple of weeks ago, and they are 12 miles from my house. And the best thing was, in that 12-mile range, I was in stop and go traffic, and I regened, I think 8 miles. So I basically picked up 8 miles of range. So I basically spent only 4 miles worth the energy going to their place. So you can have fun with it. There's a lot of different things. It's a whole different driving experience. You can do one pedal driving, which I'm not a fan of because it's like driving a golf cart. You can do the creep mode thing, like what I do, which is like a conventional car. You can play with the regen. It has different modes. Ultimately, if you look at the new Charger 6-pack and you look at the Charger Daytona, you get different drive modes. You get more features. You get wider tires for more traction. Ultimately, you're getting more content in that car. Is it worth the value of jumping to an EV? Not really if you're considering the overall cost of it. So, I mean, if I had my fast charger hooked up here, I could charge it overnight, and ultimately if it was at 0% and I charge it to 100 overnight, it's the average in Michigan right now is like 16 cents a kilowatt hour for charging it at home. So it cost me $16 to fill it up. So yeah, it would be good, but the problem is when the car costs 80 grand, that's when you're looking at like, well, I'm still spending like my car payment's still X amount. Like if it wasn't for that car being such a discounted car because no one bought it, I probably wouldn't have got it. I mean, I love driving it and stuff, but I'm saying like when I looked at the pricing, I had employee discounts, I had incentives, I stacked all that stuff up, and I got a really good deal on the car. Again, I pay under $500 a month for the car. I pay $480 a month for that car. Almost 700 horsepower, all-wheel drive. How many cars can you do that with in today's world after COVID? Like none. So, but if it had a range extender, I would consider it. You know, that would ultimately solve the issues of going to um, finding a charging station that works. I was over in Lansing, Michigan, visiting some family, and the one charger that was near me, that was a fast charger, the same company owns a couple of them around here that I use all the time. And I went to it and I plugged it into the car. It registered and started giving out a thing, but as soon as it ramped up, it would kick off. Had nothing to do with the car not accepting it. The car has never failed me on accepting a charge. It's always been that the machine, the charging machine, has some kind of software issue or has something that it won't like read the car right, or something's wrong and it detects something and shuts off. But it's never been the car. The only issue I've really had with software in this car was when it bricked because of an over-the-air update. It didn't like something, and then the only other issue I've had software-wise was again, it's still my screens, my actual startup, like after my startup screen, the auto screen and the wet and snow mode screen don't work. Like basically they have they have the speedo and all that stuff, and how much battery you have left, but there's no graphics on them. I'm the only Dodge Charger Daytona that I know of that does not have, or that basically has that issue. But other than that, the car's been flawless. I've been really impressed with the car. So I would guarantee if you could get a good enough deal on it and you don't have to drive far for work, I highly suggest going out and leasing one. I wouldn't say buy it. I would say lease it, because the residual values are going to continue to fall out on them. But it is a good car. It is a very good car. Is it a muscle car? No. Is it a good GT car? Absolutely. Is it still spinning? Well, let's see here. If it wasn't for Dodge, I would never even want an EV. I'm a Mopar guy. I traded my 2024 Power Wagon 2500 for this Charger because I gas on the way too much frequently. Oh, because you get, well, yeah. Didn't I read? You're on one of the Facebook pages I'm on for the Charger. Didn't you say you were looking at getting rid of your car? I think you said you were looking at getting rid of your car and going back to a Power Wagon, weren't you? Weren't you going to try to buy the same truck that you had? So, anyways, guys, I think this is a great day for all of us that love Mopar stuff. The investments are really good. Especially now that we're learning that there's going to be another large SUV and a range extending EV. So, on top of that, Belvidere's getting 2 new Jeep products. That's really exciting. The next generation Durango has been confirmed for Detroit. Durango's going to stay here in Michigan, which is awesome. So I'm really happy. They're going to expand 50% of their production capability here in the U.S. And again, it's just nothing but good news for Stellantis. Let me see if I can do this. For some reason, I don't know why.